All right, so there's some stuff that kind of bothers me, and that's when we press G to enter our game mode. Like so, like for example, game mode is kind of where we see, our icons for where things are at, but the lighting gets really weird and blown out. So I'm gonna kind of show you sort of how to set up your own custom lighting. Under your lighting folder here, just go ahead and select all of these options, including the folder itself for lighting. Just hit the delete key, and now when you hit G, you can see it's all dark, and you hit G again, it gives us back our icons. So let's talk a little bit about lighting and how to set up lighting. So over here, you can see if we hover over our quickly add to the project button, there's a section that just says lights, and let's talk about each one of these lights. Let's go to the directional light, and you can think of a directional light as almost like your sun, right? So we move this around like this. You can see it's pointing in a direction. You can turn shadows on and off. If you see where it says cast shadows here under the options. So if you just want something that's a little bit more flooded, you can add additional directional lights, right? And you can rotate those to soften your shadows. So let's say we have these shadows here and they're too bright. I can hit W for move, and I'm just going to hold the option key and then just move this off to duplicate it. And I've essentially doubled up the light. I hit E to select my rotation. Now you can see when I go down, I'm softening that initial shadow. And if I turn off cast shadows here, we have, we just had a moment ago. Let's see. Here we go, cast. There's a lot of options for shadows here. Let's just type shadow here, or cast shadow. Save me time from cast. So here's cast static shadows. You can check that. Cast the dynamic shadows and check that. And you can see now this light is really just used more to soften what's already there. And then you can also adjust the light color of this one, and that'll add a little bit of some light to the shadows in the overall scene. So this is often done. See that? Add a little tint to the scene into the shadows themselves. So that's another way people, and then you can bake all this in. We'll talk about that in another video. And now when you press play your game, you can see we have the shadows there and a little bit of the tint of the color. So another thing you'll see when you're setting up multiple directional lights is you'll often get a message saying that you have multiple lights competing for forward shading, right? So they're competing for which distance or which one has priority. It's an easy fix. All you do is inside of your details here is you type forward to access the property of your directional light. And then whatever one has, for me, the shadows, which is my initial light, I'll just set that to priority one. And you'll see that message disappears. Okay, let's take a look at another light. And if we go here, we go up to lighting, see lights, we'll go to our point light. Now point light, you can look at it as a light bulb. So you'll see these a lot, people use in the scene to kind of bake out, again, what appears to be a light. You can adjust the intensity of these lights here. And let's see. The radius of your light like this. So you can have like a much smaller one that's only affecting, so you have a table lamp or just, whatever with a light bulb. Another great light that gives you something similar is the spotlight, which I believe is next. Yeah, spotlight. And this is again like a flashlight. This can be used for a flashlight. You can adjust the size, and you have to forgive me. I'm still getting used to this Mac. Same as before. Like you have the source radius, the length. So you can go in here and kind of adjust all this good stuff. And outer cone area, we can bring that in, make it more of a fine-tuned light bulb, something like that. And let's go to our next light, rect light. This is shaped like a rectangle, and let's kind of bring this down a little bit. And this one I really like to use for baking out lighting, and you can have it focus on just a specific area. And if you look at the shape of it, here, let's bring this up a little bit actually. So something like this. Hit F to focus on this so we can just look at it. Even though it looks like a spotlight, we can adjust the width and the height separately. See that? For how the light is affected. And let's see what else is doing. Which is kind of nice if you want to like light a corridor versus just a bunch of lights. And let's see what else we have. A skylight. And the skylight is nice because, and this is great for baking, is you can use this to essentially light your entire scene evenly. Now, the skylight itself, we need to add a few other parameters to get this working. So I'm not really going to cover the skylight here as of now. We'll probably just use a directional light to build out our scene. So for example, if we go in here, we add our directional light, see lights, directional light like that. Just kind of bring it up, rotate it. And this is fine for now. If I hit G for game view, we press play, that's essentially how our scene is going to look. So now we have this like focused area on our sphere with our ball moving around. So those are just really basic lights. Gives you a little bit more control over your lights. And I think that's good for now. I mean, in the next video, we'll continue on and we'll try to make a trigger volume here so that when the ball runs through it, we can have like a win-lose scenario, or the beginning of a win-lose scenario.